Okay, today we're continuing with R. Murray Schafer, the Canadian composer's 1969 book, The New Soundscape. We're on to chapter 4, a new definition of noise. We walked around for a while talking about noise. Doug carried the sound meter, measuring. At a residential street corner, 35 decibels. We stopped, and I asked Jeff why he regarded his neighbor's radio as noise. But it goes on all day, and I don't like the choice of programs. Well, I didn't find it disagreeable, Barbara reaffirmed, at 40 decibels. Well then, I said, how would you define noise? Ugliness, she replied. A bus passed by, 80 decibels. Did you find it ugly? I asked her after a while. What? That bus. Well, it was loud, but not nearly as ugly as the sounds in that piece you played to us the other day. We had been listening to Edgar Varèse's Désert. Jeff thought that it was very funny and laughed. 68 decibels. What makes it sound ugly? I persisted. Just then we were passed by a motorcycle going all out, 98 decibels. That's a Harley Davidson, Jeff said, who knew about motorcycles. 62 horsepower, what a beauty. Ugly? I asked. No, beautiful. Oh. For a while we walked without speaking. Turning a corner, we entered a park and sat down, 35 decibels. From the distance, the sawtooth sound of the lawnmower proceeded towards us, pushing the meter up to 75 decibels. I began to think of the many confusions surrounding the word noise. Was it a matter of dissonance? Or loudness? Or simply a personal displeasure? I wrote the words dissonance, loudness, and displeasure there. Because, you can note dissonance, right? Using musical terms, right? Certain notes sounding together create dissonance. You can note loudness with that meter they're using to measure the decimals. Displeasure, though, that's very subjective, right? I don't like the sound of motorcycles, but some people really love it and think it's beautiful. Continuing on. The great 19th century physicist Hermann von Helmholtz had little difficulty distinguishing music from noise. This is what he says in his famous book, On the Sensations of Tone. Helmholtz. Quote, the first and principal difference between various sounds experienced by our ear and that between noises and musical tones. We perceive that generally a noise is accompanied by a rapid alternation of different kinds of sound. Think, for example, of the rattling of a carriage over granite paving stones, the splashing or seething of a waterfall, or of the waves of the sea, the rustling of leaves in the wood. In all these cases, we have rapid, irregular, but distinctively perceptible alternations of various kinds of sounds which crop up fitfully. Those regular motions which produce musical tones have been exactly investigated by physicists. They are oscillations, vibrations, or swings, that is, up and down, or to and fro motions of sonorous bodies, and it is necessary for these oscillations should be regularly periodic. By a periodic motion we mean one which constantly returns to the same condition, altering exactly equal intervals of time. It's funny that he mentions ocean waves because lots of people buy ocean wave sounds to sleep to. They're so pleasurable, right? He then formulates his definition. The sensation of a musical tone is due to a rapid periodic motion of the sonorous body. The sensation of a noise is non-periodic motions. End quote. You can see this easily enough on an oscilloscope, an instrument for presenting sound pictorially to assist in its analysis. I'm going to write that down. Oscilloscope. Oscilloscope. I want to look more up about it later. There is a branch of mathematics known as harmonic analysis. That actually was one of the things studied in music during the Middle Ages, when there was only 7 subjects in school. One of them was music. They studied mathematically harmonic analysis. Continuing on, which is concerned with the problem of analyzing curves which appear in an oscilloscope to determine the ingredients of sound. In a musical tone, all the harmonics are proportionate to its fundamental, and the pattern produces on an oscilloscope will be regular and periodic, as in the first illustration. So harmonics are regular in music. Continuing on. A noisy sound, to retain Helmholtz's distinction, is much more complex, consisting of many fundamentals, each with its own harmonic superstructure, and these sounds in disharmonious competition with each other. In this oscillographic picture, the whole riot of lines results, in which it is difficult or impossible to see any regularity or pattern. But is this a satisfactory definition? Have we not already examined enough problems and paradoxes to force a re-examination of Helmholtz's classic propositions? Well, for me, it's too scientific, right? Here's the machine. Look at this old machine. And there, see, this is the regular pattern of a musical note, and then the irregular motions of noise. For instance, by Helmholtz's definition, the motorcycle we heard could not be considered noisy at all, but rather musical. For as a mechanical machine, it must be periodic. You don't get very far on a non-periodic machine. And can we ignore amplitude in examining noise? The motorcycle was 98 decibels by a rating. Colloquially speaking, a lot of people would call that noisy. Yeah, noisy does, in some way, equal amplitude, right? Volume, dynamics. Something that's loud is noisy, even if it's beautiful. Continuing on. On the other hand, many percussion instruments, such as drums, are non-periodic, and yet we find them in symphony orchestras. In fact, as a drum person, I love them. Look how young he is here. If you have a chance, check out R. Murray Schafer's video, Listen. It's called Listen. He made that for the Canadian government, so it'll have like French subtitles, maybe even Spanish too, but it's in English, and it's after he retired, and it says his home before he passed. It's really interesting. Okay, we seem to be in trouble. Scientifically, of course, we cannot dispute Helmholtz's division of sounds into those which are periodic and those which are non-periodic. The problem is merely semantic and arises because he chooses to call one musical tone and the other noise. When music is still considered a collection of harmonically related sound events, noise automatically referred to disharmonious sound events. Percussion instruments were introduced into orchestra in audacious acts by composers interested in breaking new sound barriers. Beethoven was audacious when he gave a solo part to the timpani in the scherzo of his Ninth Symphony, as was George Antheil when he introduced airplane propellers and sirens into the fabric of his Ballet Mécanique. Okay, I'm going to write that down. So, like, Audacity. So, part of it is because it was noise, it was being introduced. In the past, people thought less of the intensity of loudness or sounds, probably because there are far fewer brutally loud sounds in their lives. It was not until the Industrial Revolution that sound pollution came into existence as a serious problem. And that's true, the machines are very loud. It was the beginning of the present century that the Italian futurist composer Luigi Russolo, recognizing that noises dominated our lives anyway, suggested that they should be completely incorporated into music. In 1913, he wrote a manifesto entitled L'Art des Rumeurs, The Art of Noises, in which he pointed out that since the invention of the machine, man was gradually being conditioned to these new noises, and that the conditioning was changing his musical sensibilities. He called for an end to the banishment of noise to the realms of unpleasantness, and demanded that people open their ears to the new music of the future. Now that this is precisely what is happening, the hitherto little-known Russolo is emerging as something of a prophet. Yeah, I don't know that it's really happening, right? Is it really happening? Is the most popular music we might hear on the radio really the noisiest? The machiniest? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think. I think there's still a constant people seek in music. We want something beautiful. This, then, is the essence of our revised definition of noise. The communications engineers have given it to us. When someone is transmitting a message, any sound that interferes with or impairs the accurate transmission and reception is referred to the noise. Okay, so interference. Interference with an intention. So intentionality is involved in that. So intentionality is just that which we intend, right? Noise is any undesired sound signal. So it's a very subjective definition he's gotten to. And it's going to be a little bit of a long section because we're up to 12 minutes, but there's not much left. This makes noise, to be sure, a relative term. Yes, I said subjective. Relative, it's a synonym to subjective. Not exactly the same, but very similar. But it gives us the flexibility we need when we refer to sound. In a concert, if the traffic outside the hall disturbs the music, it is noise. But if, as John Cage has done, the doors are thrown open and the audience is informed that the traffic constitutes a part of the texture of the piece, the sound ceases to be noise. Maybe, but if it ceases to be noise, why listen to John Cage anyway? I guess this explains why nobody listens to John Cage anyway today. We may still speak of periodic and non-periodic sounds to distinguish between two quite different qualities of sound, but we must reserve judgment as to whether they are music or noise until we determine whether they constitute part of the message intended to be heard or are miscellaneous or interferences to it. Message or interference. Noise, music or noise, message or interference. Noise is any undesired sound signal. Didn't he write that already? Noise is any undesired sound signal. Yeah, he wrote it twice. Right here and right there. Okay, last but not least, a few days later, a popular music band was playing on the mall of our school, full out with guitars and amplifier. Jeff measured it at 101 decibels. "How can you stand it?" I screamed at the girl beside me. "Huh? Never mind," I said. "I can't hear you," she replied. I wonder how people can say that sometimes too. There's like really loud music some people listen to, and live concerts. It's part of the reason I don't go to concerts is because I don't do well with really loud noises. Never have. Something to go into music. Somebody that doesn't really like loud noises, but it's something too. Loud noises bother me, and so I don't go to a lot of concerts. There's a lot I skipped even back in the 90s. That would have been cool concerts to look back to and have gone. But maybe I have some hearing that I would not have had if I had gone to them too. Have a blessed day.